On Thursday evening, October 7th, a candidates forum on environmental issues was held at the Jackson County Recreational Center in Cullowhee. All 9 candidates for the Jackson County Commission and for the North Carolina State Legislature were invited to attend. Attending were incumbents District 119 Representative Phil Hare, County Commission Chair Brian McMahon, Commissioner Tom Massey, and Commissioner William Shelton, all Democrats. None of the Republican candidates attended, including Dodie Allen, who is running for Phil Hare's House seat, Charles Elders, who is running for William Shelton's seat, nor independent Jack Debman, who is hoping to replace Brian McMahon as chair of the Jackson County Commission. Also absent were Democratic State Senator John Snow and his opponent, Republican Jim Davis. Panelists who asked questions of the candidates included Roger Clapp of the Watershed Association of the Tuckasegee, Ken Brown of the Tuckasegee Community Alliance, and Avram Friedman of the Canary Coalition. Moderator Jeanette Cabanis-Bruin posed the first question.
Many people think that we have to choose between protecting the environment and growing the economy. I want to know if you agree with this statement. If you do, provide facts that support your assertion, and if not, what are your proposals for economic and environmental success for this region or the county?
Now, some way we have to provide jobs. Now, we have set aside a whole lot of land up here, and that's why people come up here to the mountains as tourism. We're hoping that through the extension of broadband up here through Advantage, Boston FiberNet West group, that we're one of the most wired up areas in the country in here, that we can get in good, clean industries that will specialize in technology or other things in that area that would not pollute.
I don't think that it's an either or. When you look at whether or not you can have good environmental laws or ordinances in place versus growth and development, I think it's not an either or. I think there can be a happy marriage of the two issues.
Well, the short answer for the first part of the question, do they have to be mutually exclusive, is no. I would like to think that we can grow the economy through environmental protection in many ways. It seems like we reach a point in history where ecological factors and economic factors seem to begin to line up, and then some major economic event happens like this recession, and there's a mindset of fear. People feel like, well, moving backwards is a way to move forward. And I think it was Albert Einstein that said, problems can't be solved in the same mindset or with the same level of awareness that create them.
Well, with all due respect to my colleagues, I disagree. I think we do have to choose. Now, the question was not, are they mutually exclusive? I don't think they are. It says, do we have to choose? And sooner or later, you have to take a stand in what you believe in. And I think Jackson County has done it. We have to protect our environment. Our environment is critical to everything that transpires from this point forward.
What needs to change if the downstream citizens these protections, especially the resubmission of erosion sediment control plans?
I think that, you know, a few things have to occur to improve enforcement, and one may be interdepartmental communication, so maybe the right hand knows what the left hand's doing. I think that when people, when there are concerned citizens and you see a sluice of red coming down a stream, take the time to call, and maybe the county people will be informed enough to go and locate the source of some of these things. Enforcement is a big issue. Our intention is to do a good job with enforcement. We can always improve.
We prefer historically to work with landowners and developers to get them back in compliance. We've done a pretty good job, but however, at some point in time, we have to sit there and say enough's enough. we worked with you, it's time to find. And unfortunately, some people don't start paying attention until you put your hand in the pocketbook and you get their attention. So that's the last resort in the way we want to do it. There's other things that we can be doing. We'll never be able to hire enough people to go out there and check everything all the time. But perhaps we need to start looking at increasing the hours when we're looking, when we have heavy rains, even on the weekend, so we can be looking at those things. Can we make improvements? Yes, we can, without a doubt. But it's one of those things that is a work in progress, and we will continue to work at it.
How can existing environmental steep slope erosion and development ordinances be tweaked or managed to improve enforcement? For example, do you support funding and positions to increase monitoring of our streams for sediment and pollutants from stormwater runoff in key county tributaries, with one objective being the identification and mitigation of construction, farming, and forestry projects that exhibit poor erosion and sediment control?
I don't see us being able to go ahead and expand the county workforce in these times. Actually, this last year we reduced our workforce in the county by 9 positions. With what the Representative Hare said earlier about the budget cuts in the state this past year, and what we know, we're anticipating a $3 billion shortfall next year. Times are going to be even tougher in Jackson County for dollars. So I don't see us expanding our workforce. If anything, we're going to see continue to shrink. However, what we've got to do is we've got to cross-train all of our employees. We've got eyes out there and everything. At every construction site, we've got building inspectors going out there to do their electrical inspections, to do the footers inspections, to do the whole 9 yards. Those people, if they see that the silt fences are down or the erosion control measures are not in place, need to be picking up the phone as they come down the mountain and call Mr. Shelton in the planning department so that they can go out and enforce it.
Fortunately, our local ordinances are no different than our U.S. Constitution. It's a living document, and nothing's perfect. And as time goes on, there are changes that are recognized that need to be made.
My question to you is, beyond what has already been done, what can county government or the state government, in the case of candidates running for legislative office, what can we do to address the issues of poor air quality and climate change, which are having such a negative impact on public health, the economy, and the environment in Western North Carolina?
It is a situation. We are looking at it from the statewide. Of course, a lot of this stuff has to be mandated at the federal level. You know, we can't say you can't have cars that put out so much pollution, because how do you monitor that? How do you stop people coming in from out of the state that are maybe driving vehicles that do not meet those standards? So we're doing what we can, I think, as a state. It's an education process. We have to keep telling people, like Mr. Friedman and Adrian put out, about the children involved, the health issues involved. We know this. You know, one thing we've done, and we talk about air, we've abolished smoking in all public buildings.
Raise awareness. One of the things that we can do is set good examples. Reduce our dependence upon fossil fuels. Try to set the example and lead by that example. I know with our green energy park, we could have very easily just allowed that methane gas to escape and to go up into the atmosphere, but we tried to be innovative, and we took some measures and put in place to capture that methane gas, to use it to the benefit. If it's going to be generated, you've got to do something with it. Why not put it to good use?
You know, sometimes an issue like this seems overwhelming, so us guys on a local level sometimes forget that we actually can address issues like this, and what we have to remind ourselves is that we share a constituency with state and federal officials, and we're kind of the guys on the front line, so sometimes we need to back up and look at this big picture and become better advocates for things like clean air. I think that we can always get behind a good cause by bringing more public awareness through comments we make out.
Division of Forest Resources issued burning permits in Jackson County for outdoor debris and brush. Quite frankly, I think that we ought to strongly encourage not issuing burning permits on poor air quality days, where we already have elevated amounts of ozone, other things. And I think the county can probably do something in terms of a local ordinance that influences the Department of Forest Resources where we don't issue burning permits on those type days.
One of the principal causes of air pollution is the way we produce and use energy in North Carolina. There has been a bill proposed in the North Carolina Senate to essentially ban large-scale wind energy in the mountains. And there's a group that's advocated to change that bill to regulate the location of windmills in appropriate locations and give local authorities more power to determine whether they want large-scale wind in their area and what they would designate as appropriate locations. Do you support that concept, or do you support a total ban on wind energy?
Maybe in last year we passed a resolution to send to the state in support of that local control, because we feel like in the event that there are certain ridges that would work efficiently for that type of energy, a local ordinance or local body should have the say-so as to whether or not that can occur.
Well, very simple answer. I'm in support of wind energy, but there again, that's one of those issues you got to find a good balance. Obviously, we don't want to put wind turbines on every mountaintop, but at the same time, because that's where the most operable wind is, but at the same time, you want to be able to do that in some opportunities. So if there's a good balance and you can find a happy medium, I'd be in favor.
I'll have to say, I'm not a great advocate of windmills in the mountains.
You believe the expenditure of millions of dollars in the upheaval of our mountains and streams and wildlife are justified in order to build a bypass around the economic center of the county and Highway 107.
I think that the state of North Carolina has the money present to do that. I don't think that the proposed bypass resolves any of the problems for those of us that travel back and forth on 107 into Silver. It does not relieve traffic congestion. Yes, it makes it easier to commute from Cullowhee, point south, get 74 heading east, but it doesn't do anything for those of us that want to move within the central core area of Jackson County on 107. So I do not support that.
If you look at a 30-year projection, even with the bypass, traffic on 107 is going to be heavier than it is today, even if the bypass is built. So how does that alleviate a traffic problem on 107? So, you know, I weighed that against what you were mentioning, the impact to that, you know, construction corridor, and I could not in good conscience support that.
If we were to propose to build the Blue Ridge Parkway today, how many people would support it? But a lot of people say we're killing our mountains and we don't need to put a road up there. So sometimes roads are necessary, and I love the parkway. I go up there quite a bit. It's in my backyard almost. So I support alternate measures, but in the end, if the DOT says that's what's going to have to happen and the data proves it, I will support it.